Do you have difficulty committing to a relationship, a job, or schoolwork? If so, it might be due to anxiety and intolerance of uncertainty. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how intolerance of uncertainty can make it difficult for you to commit to the things that you want in your life and what you can do about it. Hi everyone! Today's video is a continuation of a series of videos that I'm doing on various manifestations of intolerance of uncertainty and things that you can do to build your tolerance for uncertainty. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how intolerance of uncertainty can interfere in you committing yourself to a relationship, a job, or other things that you may want in your life. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about difficulty committing. Now, I've done a number of videos on the concept of intolerance of uncertainty and how intolerance of uncertainty tends to drive excessive, difficult to control worry. At its core, intolerance of uncertainty causes a person to focus on all of the potential negative outcomes in a situation and therefore makes a person feel much more anxious and worried about what might happen. Now, one of the most tragic and challenging ways in which intolerance of uncertainty can manifest itself is in a person having difficulty committing themselves to the things that they really want in life. I'll often see this in students who don't really work hard or commit to their schoolwork because they're afraid that if they really try and fail, they'll be really disappointed. And it will confirm to them that they're not capable. I'll see this in people who limit themselves in their career, not pushing themselves to advance or try and expand what they're doing because they're concerned that they're not smart enough or talented enough to do that. And so they don't bother applying for positions or roles that they could be really good at. I see this in people who struggle to commit to a relationship with a partner who may be very caring and loving, but the person isn't certain that this is the absolute right relationship for them. And so they hold back emotionally from the relationship and never fully allow themselves to become invested in it. The common thread behind all of these scenarios is that there's potential for something really good to happen if the person commits and fully invests themselves in their schoolwork, their career, or that relationship. However, all of these scenarios also have the potential for being extremely disappointing, or for there to be a massive emotional letdown if they don't turn out the way the person hopes for. So for example, what if a student commits to working really hard in a course and does their best, but only gets a C in the course? What does that say about the student? Well, what it might say is that the student isn't capable of anything more than a C. No matter how hard they try, no matter how hard they work, it's just confirmation that they're not good enough to excel. What if a person fully commits to their job, doing extra work, taking on extra responsibilities, doing continuing education courses, applying for promotions, but they don't succeed and don't get ahead in their job? What does that say about their career prospects? It might imply that no matter how hard that person works, they're going to be limited in terms of how successful they will be in their career and that their current level is about as good as it's going to get. What if I fully invest myself in a romantic relationship, opening myself up, sharing personal things, telling the other person that I love them, but the other person ends the relationship? What does that say about how lovable I am? I'll be devastated by the end of the relationship, and I'll feel that I wasn't good enough for the other person, and that's why they ended the relationship. The way intolerance of uncertainty works in these situations is that by only partially committing myself to my schoolwork, advancing my career, a relationship, it's almost like I'm hedging my bets against failure in the situation not working out the way I want it to. If I don't put much effort into my schoolwork and I don't do very well, I always have the explanation that I didn't really work that hard at it, and that's why I didn't get a good mark. If I don't put much effort into my work and just do the bare minimum, then that explains why I'm not advancing in my career. It's not that I'm not good enough, but it's just that I don't really care too much about the job. If I don't fully open myself up and make myself vulnerable in this romantic relationship, if the relationship ends, it was because we didn't really connect, or it's okay because I wasn't fully invested in the other person. It's almost like I'm building in an excuse for why the situation isn't going to work out, even before it hasn't worked out. And this is the real tragedy of this manifestation of intolerance of uncertainty. By only partially committing yourself to something, it's almost like you're guaranteeing that you're not going to succeed at it. And the certainty of knowing that you're not going to succeed at it is almost better than the potential threat or loss of really trying, hoping for success, but then experiencing failure. This manifestation of intolerance of uncertainty is based on the assumption that the things I care about, things that are meaningful to me, are never going to work out. Now, at a logical level, you probably know that this simply isn't true. But as is typically the case with intolerance of uncertainty, it's not a matter of just logically knowing that uncertainty doesn't turn out badly. It's more a problem of a person behaving as if that's not true. So if you find yourself only partially committing to a relationship, a job, schoolwork, or anything else meaningful in your life, what can you do about this? How can you change this? Well, the first thing is to recognize that you are only partially committing yourself, to recognize the various ways in which you're holding yourself back from fully investing in this thing that you care about. And once you recognize that you're doing that, it's important to remind yourself as to where that's going to get you. Essentially, remind yourself that you're guaranteeing that you're not going to get the things out of life that you want. And so you have certainty about that. While the certainty may be a good thing, that you feel more comfortable with the certainty, the fact that you're not getting what you want out of life, that's not a good thing. So with that in mind, the idea is to think about what are some of the ways in which you can more fully commit yourself in your schoolwork, at your job, in the relationship, and to try to do some of those things. It might mean you do a behavioral experiment where you take one assignment in your course and really invest in doing a good job at it. You work as hard as you can at it. You give it your all, put in all of the effort. And as you're doing this, you want to be aware of what it is that you're worried is going to happen if you give your all and commit. Maybe you recognize that you worry that you're going to fail anyway, and that this will just confirm that you're not as smart as you think you are. Okay, that's your prediction. That's what the worry is telling you is going to happen. So we have the experiment and we have the prediction of what we think is going to happen. The next step is to actually engage in the behavior. Give my all in this assignment and then see what happens. This is the data collection step in the tolerating uncertainty experiment. By seeing what happens in collecting the data, you then have evidence which you can now compare to the worry prediction. And that's the final step. Comparing what you predicted was going to happen, what the worry told you was going to happen, with what actually happened. So if I give my all on the assignment, if I do my best and I get an A, what does that tell me? Well, my worry predicted that I was going to fail and I don't really know this stuff and it was going to be a mess. But that wasn't true. So in this case, the worry prediction was just plain wrong. And if you find over and over and over again that what you predict to happen doesn't actually happen, what that tells you is that your worries aren't very good at predicting the future. And what this can do is to get you to start questioning some of your assumptions about yourself and how necessary it is for you to hold back and only partially commit yourself to these things that you want in your life. By allowing yourself to invest more in the goals and the things that you want, you might find that things actually turn out the way you want them to, and that you're able to succeed in places that you might have previously thought you would have failed. So these behavioral experiments around committing more to things that you want in your life can be very useful and powerful in overcoming intolerance of uncertainty. The other thing you can do is to take advantage of all of the naturally occurring opportunities to tolerate uncertainty on a day-to-day basis. I'll often encourage my clients to do this by imagining the following question tattooed to the frontal lobe of their brain. And the question is, if I were more tolerant of uncertainty, what would I do in this situation? Having this question at the forefront of your mind, you're likely going to be able to better recognize and identify times that you're only partially committing yourself to something out of the fear that you might fail at it. And when you recognize that you're only partially committing yourself, it gives you an opportunity to think about what you can do in the moment to more fully commit yourself, to more fully invest yourself. This could be something as simple as giving your partner a spontaneous hug, even though you're not sure how they would respond to that. It could be sharing something personal about yourself with your partner so that you feel more connected or more engaged with them. By doing these sorts of things, you're pushing yourself to more fully invest and commit and try for the things that you want in your life. Now, it doesn't mean that everything is going to work out the way you want it to, but at least you give yourself the opportunity or the chance for positive things to happen. So, I hope that helps explain how holding back in life and failing to commit to things that you want, not fully investing yourself in the things that you want out of life, how these are all manifestations of intolerance of uncertainty. I hope it gives you a better sense of how to recognize when you are holding back and how to purposefully put yourself out there and take some risks, even though it might lead to failure, loss, or rejection. Because there's also a chance that it can lead to success, reward, and fulfillment in life. So I hope all of that makes sense. I would love to hear any questions or thoughts that you have about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.